In the Celtic myth cycles, the land of Tír Na is the realm of the otherworld, the place where the Fae lived and heroes visited on quests. It was a place just outside the realm of man, off to the west, where there was no illness or death or time, but only happiness and beauty. It is important to note that Tír Na was not so much an afterlife as it was an earthly place, a land of eternal youth that could only be reached by way of magic. In many of the Celtic legends, Tír Na plays an important role in the forming of both heroes and mystics. The very name, Tír Na, means land of youth in the Irish language. The best known tale of Tír Na is the story of the young Irish warrior Oisín, who fell in love with the flame-haired maiden Niamh, whose father was king of Tír Na. They crossed the sea on Niamh's white mare together to reach the magical land, where they lived happily for 300 years. Despite the eternal joy of Tír Na, there was a part of Oisín that missed his homeland, and he occasionally felt a strange longing to return to Ireland. Finally, Niamh knew she could hold him back no longer, and sent him back to Ireland and his tribe, the Fianna. Oisín travelled back to his home on the magical white mare, but when he arrived, he found that all of his friends and family were long dead and his castle overgrown with weeds. After all, he had been gone for 300 years. Oisín turned the mare back to the west, sadly preparing to go back to Tír Na. On the way, the mare's hoof got caught on a stone, and Oisín thought to himself that if he carried the rock back with him to Tír Na, it would be like taking a bit of Ireland back with him. As he leaned down to pick up the stone, he stumbled and fell, and instantly aged 300 years. The mare panicked and ran into the sea, heading back to Tír Na without him. However, some fishermen had been watching on the shore, and they were astonished to see a man age so fast. Naturally, they assumed magic was afoot, so they gathered up Oisín and took him to see St. Patrick. When Oisín came before St. Patrick, he told him the story of his flame-headed love, Niamh, and his journey, and the magical land of Tír Na. Once he was finished, Oisín crossed out his lifetime, and he was at last at peace. William Butler Yeats wrote his epic poem, The Wanderings of Oisín, about this very myth. He wrote, "O Patrick, for 100 years I chased upon that woody shore the deer, the badger, and the boar. O Patrick, for 100 years, at evening on the glimmering sands, beside the piled-up hunting spears, these now outworn and withered hands wrestled among the island bands. O Patrick, for 100 years. We went a-fishing in long boats, with bending sterns and bending bows, and carven figures on their prows. O bitterns and fish-eating stoats, O Patrick, for 100 years. The gentle Niamh was my wife, but now two things devour my life, the things that most of all I hate, fasting and prayers." In some legends, one of the early races of Ireland's conquerors were known as Tuatha De Danann, and they were considered mighty and powerful. It was believed that once the next wave of invaders arrived, the Tuatha went into hiding. Some tales told that the Tuatha moved on to Tír Na and became the race known as the Fa. Said to be the children of the goddess Danu, the Tuatha appeared in Tír Na and burned their own ships so that they could never leave. In Gods and Fighting Men, Lady Augusta Gregory says, "It was a mist, the Tuatha De Danann, the people of the gods of Dana, or as some called them, the men of Da, came through the air on the high air to Ireland." The story of a hero's journey to the underworld and his subsequent return is found in a number of different cultural mythologies. In Japanese legend, for instance, there is the tale of Urashima Taro, a fisherman, which dates back to around the 8th century. Urashima rescued a turtle, and as a reward for his good deed, was permitted to visit the Dragon Palace under the sea. After 3 days as a guest there, he returned home to find himself 3 centuries into the future, with all of the people in his living village long dead and gone. There is also the folk tale of King Herla, an ancient king of the Britons. The medieval writer Walter Map describes Herla's adventures in the Nuigas Coilum. Herla was out hunting one day and encountered a dwarfen king who agreed to attend Herla's wedding if Herla would come to the dwarf king's wedding a year later. The dwarf king arrived at Herla's marriage ceremony, a huge retinue and lavish gifts. 1 year later, as promised, Herla and his host attended the dwarf king's wedding and stayed for 3 days. You may notice a recurring theme here. Once they got home, though, no one knew them or understood their language, because 300 years had passed and Britain was now Saxon. Walter Map then goes on to describe King Herla as the leader of the wild hunt, racing endlessly through the night. The legend of Oisín and Tír Na lives on.
Hello lads and lassies, I just wanted to say thanks a million for watching my videos. And if you could do me a big favour mate, and hit that subscribe button down there in the bottom right hand side. That would be like totally awesome, dude. Because my channel has like loads of different accents and like voices on it, man. It ain't exactly rocket science now, is it? All you have to do is hit the little red button that says subscribe. So come on down. Hell, I got more accents than the state of Texas has rifles. Hey you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. If you're looking for any voiceovers or voice acting, with 40 different accents, all you gotta do is go to Fiverr.com and find me on the JP Wright voice. Otherwise, you're gonna be with the Gambino crew and slipping with the fishes. Aye, and don't ye forget, hit that resubscribe button down there on the bottom right hand side, hey.